Dr. Mendez, that was a really wonderful talk. I didn't have a question, but I wanted to just give the comment of it just did such a wonderful job of showing how much we can become immersed in authentic language sources if we're really
Yes.
focusing on OERs. So I really appreciated that, especially because I'm newer in the field, obviously, but that's really kind of I don't talk much about it in my talk today, really. I'm kind of just doing a show and tell on some things, but that's one of my takeaways, though, is you can really immerse yourself in
Oh yeah.
authentic language like resources. But I mean, it's not specific to the languages. Anyways, that was just wonderful to hear all the different ways you're sprinkling that in. And again, your students are just all the better for it. So,
Well, here for me, it is essential and very important that they do have access to authentic sources,
yes.
not text created for them, but the reality, and that they face what's the academic language. Because for me, the goal is when they leave here, they are speaking the top-notch Spanish, the highest Spanish possible, the
Yeah.
most, not highest, the most educated Spanish.
Yeah.
See, how do you do that? I mean, they can interact with me, of course, but we cannot interact 24 hours a day, God forbid.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. But immersing them in all these sources, directly or indirectly, they are getting that very educated Spanish. When they navigate
Yeah.
museums, the directions and everything is only in Spanish.
Yeah.
See?
You really reminded me of that. I took a class once where I had to go to UNAM's website and like and basically tour UNAM virtually. And I always show my students like a YouTube video of UNAM or something, especially because sometimes US students just don't realize that there's these large universities that are very important, especially UNAM in Mexico being one of them. Anyways, so that was cool I didn't realize that
Well,
you had
that's
gone
my
there.
alma mater. What can I tell
Yes.
you?
I've never visited in person. I would love to. I've been to Mexico City, but I don't know why I didn't go there. I guess
It's
I was there for a conference, I guess, but yeah.
it is worth visiting because it has not only the university itself, but it has impressive murals in
Yes,
Mexico.
yeah.
Impressive. So and the campus is laid out pretty nicely. It's huge though, as you can imagine, but it's worth visiting.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. I am
Yeah.
curious, although we're like 2 minutes away into this presentation, but I really don't like in our basic Spanish courses using the online textbooks that cost $200 and they only have access for a short period of time. So anyways, I'm very curious with your experience how you've navigated that or gone into a better OER situation than that. It's
Well,
hard.
maybe we need to write our own book.
Yeah.
There you
Rachel,
go.
would you like to do
Yes.
it? Let's plan
There
for
you
that.
go.
I've published plenty of textbooks in the past. Maybe
Yeah.
we can write the book to be placed as an open educational resources. Why not?
Yeah. And then it would just, I mean, man, I
It
really
will be
hate it
free
how
for the
it's, yeah.
students, for
Yes.
any
And then they have
student.
access for forever instead of 90 days or
There you
lo que
go.
sea. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about it.
Sounds good.
That would be awesome.
Okay, everybody, we'll just wait a couple more minutes. Hi, Rachel. How are
Hi.
you? Hi,
Doing good.
Victoria. Hi, Veronica.
Hi.
Lots of familiar faces. Okay, thank you for sharing your screen, Rachel.
I've actually never done it through PowerPoint Live. Are you guys seeing my notes or are you just seeing?
Yes, yes, we see it. We're not seeing your
No, we
notes.
are
We
just
just see
seeing
your
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 Okay.
screen.
slide.
I always
Yes,
just
Yeah.
do
ma'am.
it from like a downloaded PowerPoint. Okay, this is very fancy. All right.
um, I am so excited to hear about your presentation, Rachel.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I was just reading over your bio. It's like so impressive. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're losing you. I just can't believe
Yeah,
it.
we need to get the
I
grant
really.
back.
I,
I
so
didn't
what?
want to leave.
So what grant were you funded under?
It was PPHOA.
Oh, yeah. So
Yes.
was mine.
So,
So was mine.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So
so for helping develop graduate programming
yeah.
specifically. And so, yep, unfortunately, I was expecting to be here at least 5 years. But
Oh,
now I'm
Yep.
unfortunately having
I
to leave.
know.
But I'm
I
still very
know.
happy to continue working with everybody. I'm trying to stay in Texas. All of my husband's family and
Oh,
my family are in
good.
Texas. So
Good.
hopefully, yeah, we'll still be seeing each other a little bit, and I'm always happy to collaborate. I definitely have multiple people that I'm still collaborating with after I leave because we
Good.
started great
Good.
projects and we want to finish them. So, yeah.
I would like to have
Awesome.
your email if it's
Yes.
possible.
Yeah, I will put it in the chat already, and then I have it at the end too. Let's see here.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Um,
I'm going to go ahead and get started. Okay, Rachel, is that all
yeah,
right?
yeah, perfect.
Okay. All right. So Rachel did put her email in the chat. I am also going to place a link to a survey for everyone to give us your feedback about the symposium and about Rachel's presentation. My name is Jennifer Hahn. I am a professor of practice at Sul Ross State University in the Educational Leadership Program. And I am very excited to welcome Dr. Rachel Garza, who serves as a visiting assistant professor at Sul Ross State University. She teaches courses in Spanish for business, health professionals, and intermediate to beginning level students. She's taught online and in-person courses at Indiana University, including Hispanic linguistics, intermediate Spanish, and advanced grammar, and created course materials for her courses. She also previously instructed elementary Spanish at Baylor University. She earned her PhD in Spanish at Indiana University, Bloomington, with a dissertation exploring identity, ideologies, and phonetic reduction in South Texas borderlands, focusing on the concept of la raza. She holds a master's degree in Spanish linguistics and a bachelor's in psychology and Spanish from Baylor University. Her research emphasizes heritage language perception, phonology, language variation, and community identity, with multiple publications on segmental duration, perception of Spanish rhotics, and language attitudes in bilingual contexts. Dr. Garza is active in committees on open educational resources and interdisciplinary studies at Sul Ross State University, and has also organized academic conferences, including Dialogos at the Indiana University and the Christian Association of World Languages at Baylor. Please help me welcome Dr. Garza.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I love that. I really appreciate it. And thanks for everybody that's here. So today I'm basically doing kind of a show and tell on sources that I use. I'm trying to marry together the social science research that I do and some of the language stuff that I do, and just kind of how OERs can be born out of both research and pedagogy necessity. So my title of the presentation is Open Data, Open Research, Open Classrooms, basically just focusing on how all of these things intermingle with one another and influence one another. So I wanted to start off with just a few points of why choose open access resources for those of us that may be new, but with that wonderful keynote that we had before and then our previous session, you've probably already heard a lot about the cost to our students. That's the big reason. The other thing that I wanted to focus on is access to quality information online, not just for our students, but even self-educators. So thinking about the average Joe, as they say, going and Googling a question, them being able to get past or not have to get past a paywall to get quality information right away. That's based off of recent research, and that isn't pseudoscience. That's one aspect. So this avoids supporting paywalls in academia as well with open access resources. So again, just that connection between academia, higher ed, and the general population. more importantly, the connection between higher ed and elementary or secondary education. So between higher ed educators and educators at any level. Sometimes, especially in the languages, we do a lot of research on how to best teach. And then that research can't be shared really, or is there's a lot of barriers to sharing that research with anyone outside of higher ed. So in some ways, promoting these open access resources help us to limit the amount of hiding behind kind of our ivory walls that we can sometimes do on purpose or on accident. I'd say mostly on accident, but anyways. The last thing was, and if you went to Dr. Mendez's talk, she just did a wonderful job of talking about this, but choosing open access resources really helps us to immerse ourselves in authentic learning materials and our students. So with the languages, this is extra important because we're really needing to focus on culture with that. And then also we want our students to hear more than just our Spanish in the classroom. They need to hear many different dialects and see many different things. But this is also important for any topic, really. You want students to be exposed to many different ways of thinking about the material. And so this is one way to do it. Okay, so I'm kind of transitioning into, I'm going to talk a bit about RStudio, which is a data analysis software. That's an open access resource. And then I'm also going to talk about banks. So this being like task banks, if you're looking for ways to teach a certain subject, or data banks that get used for both research and pedagogy. So RStudio, what is RStudio? Why am I talking about it? Anybody that's in the social sciences, at some point, you are both teaching students how to do data analysis and also doing data analysis yourself for your own research. I'm a big proponent for RStudio. The alternative to this would be like SPSS or Tableau, if you've heard of those programs. Those are both behind paywalls, or you can get them through a university usually. But again, the average Joe or student after graduating can no longer access those for free. I'm a big proponent for RStudio. I was taught on SPSS and RStudio when I was in undergrad and graduate school. And I think RStudio has served me the best because it's open access. So when I say RStudio, what I'm not talking about is just a console any longer. So if you took programming classes and it's been a while, I'm not talking about going straight into just your console on your computer and typing in Python. I'm talking about a more streamlined app, which is called RStudio, which includes down here to the left, yes, the programming window, but now you can save files of programming, you can save files of data, and then it just has a streamlined way to visualize things. And I'm happy to talk about this more if you'd like. But basically, RStudio is a free application that as long as you have a computer, you can download it and use it. And because of that, it has built a huge community around it. Again, thinking about like equity and barriers. When there isn't barriers to using a program, a community can really develop around it. So one example of that is there's different wonderful websites out there. I won't click to this now, but I do include at the end sources with like how to download RStudio, go find this rgraphgallery.com. But one of the wonderful community pages that I've found that I've taught people how to use RStudio with was rgraph gallery. So if you're wanting to make graphs, for example, or you want to teach somebody how to make graphs, this is a wonderful resource to do so. It is also open resource because it's just a website on the internet. I think they have some ads, so that's probably how they're making money off of it. But again, it's just this streamlined way to learn how to, let's say you want to make a histogram, you would click on this little circle, or if you want to make a box plot, click on that, and it goes through and tells you how to, basically you just copy and paste the code that they give you, so you don't have to type out much. And then it tells you what to change. So you have a data set, what does your data set need to look like? What variables do you need to have for this? And then within the code that they give you to pop out a certain type of graph, what you need to replace within your code. And something that's wonderful about RStudio or using any programming language nowadays with AI is that if you run into issues where you have an error, anybody that's ever done programming, especially before AI, knows how hard it was to deal with errors. You get an error code, you don't know what that means. And you have to kind of like learn that language of what does it mean when something goes wrong with my programming. But now with AI, you can just copy and paste the error code into AI and it'll tell you what's wrong, for example. Or if you want to make additional changes to what you want a visualization to look like or what you want analysis to look like, you can have AI help you with that. The other thing I wanted to go into a little bit for RStudio, that's a huge, huge help and is also an open access resource, is GitHub. So anybody that does anything with programming knows about GitHub. GitHub is just it's again an open access resource. It's almost, to me, it has a feel of social media, but it's not social media. Basically, though, you can have your own account in there and you can choose to upload code that you've made to help other people. So again, another kind of interesting thing where we have this compound of information and learning and creativity happening because we have not only one substantial open access resource, which is RStudio, but also this like community forum that's really supporting it and other programming languages, which is GitHub. So GitHub, this is really helpful for the actual data analysis side. So what I did here is I just took a screenshot after I searched RStudio correlation. Maybe you want to run a correlation in RStudio. Here's different people's responses. And there was more than just those four of here's what you need to copy and paste and what you need to change in your code to produce your own stats. So basically, there's just so much support out there is the idea nowadays for programming languages. They're not as inaccessible as they once were, or they don't take as much training anymore with all of these community resources. One thing about GitHub that I love too is their motto is open access. So this is what's on their front page. The future of building happens together. Tools and trends evolve, but collaboration endures. So they're very big on this is their whole point of existing. And really what GitHub is doing is supporting open access resources that involve Python or C++, different programming languages. Okay, so I'm going to transition a little bit now. I'm happy to answer more questions about RStudio, but basically the idea is that things like RStudio, GitHub data sets that we might think of being more research-based inform our pedagogy and our pedagogy can inform them. There's a bit of an overlap there. So going into some pedagogical resources, I'm focusing specifically on some language resources. One really big one that this kind of circles back to the idea of community development for our open educational resources is called the TBLT Language Learning Task Bank. This is for all languages, so if there's anybody here that doesn't teach Spanish, there are other languages uploaded. But basically, if you go to this website, which again, I'll have the websites later on and on my last slide, you can search for a task and look for either a certain language or look for something maybe that's difficult to teach in a language. So with Spanish, for example, one thing that's always taught is ser versus estar. And if you speak Spanish, then you know that both those verbs mean to be. And for English learners of Spanish, it's always kind of a hard grammar point to understand what the difference between those two verbs is in Spanish. You can find tasks that are specific, that are basically communication based and kind of based off of authentic language speaking, but for teaching that kind of grammar structure, for example. So that's a really great thing. But really what this task bank is people from many different universities all over the world contributing to the same task bank and sharing their ideas freely and citing one another if they use the topic. Another one, and this is the only other one I wanted to mention, is UT Austin for any field is a great resource in Texas for open educational resources. They have, over the past about 10 years, maybe even 15 years, they've put a lot of money into developing open educational resources for different fields of study. And specifically, they have this CORAL, which is the Center for Open Educational Resources in Language Learning. So that's more broadly than just Spanish. But they have textbooks there. They have instruction on basically how to teach, like just kind of, I actually used that as my textbooks, basically. That's what was given to me when I was learning to teach Spanish. And then they also have other research databases. So SpinText is what I'm showing here. SpinText is a database of 90 interviews that were taken with Spanish speakers in Texas. And basically, all 90 of the people were born and raised in Texas. They're from different places in Texas. And this is kind of an interesting example of an open educational resource that serves for both research and pedagogy. I have done both research studies with this myself, where I was looking at dialectal differences between cities in Texas, so like Austin versus McAllen, for example, and looking at differences between the borderlands and like central Texas. And I have a couple of conference presentations that came out of my own research using this. I have also used these videos frequently in my classes to give real world dialects that aren't my own for students to hear and see, and also to show the importance of Spanish in the US, to show differences between Spanish spoken even within the same state, and how we have all of this wonderful variation right here with us. So it's something that can be both an authentic source, or it can be something where you can do research using this database, or have students do research doing this or using this database. This is just one of many, many, many pages of something just like this. Many universities are doing this kind of thing where they're collecting interviews or large sets of data that they're then allowing other people to use for their own research or pedagogical purposes. So this is just one example. I'm a little bit out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and skip one slide next. But this is kind of my conclusion here, is just some pedagogical suggestions. I hear some pushback on OERs because people don't like them. And my response is kind of be the change. Or you may need to get more involved in Facebook pages within your discipline or conferences in your discipline. And maybe it's not so much that there's not some good OERs out there or being developed, but you may not have found them yet. I will say that's one big challenge of OERs, is that we can't just easily Google them sometimes. Even though they're out there somewhere in cyberspace, we may not know where to look. So pedagogical suggestions for OERs: immerse yourself in authentic resources for your courses. Take advantage of your library system for authentic articles. Some of that is kind of semi-open resource, right? If it's maybe the student can't use that after they've graduated, but that's still a really good resource for when they're in the university. And then one big suggestion is to take advantage of YouTube and social media as much as you can, which I don't mean to teach students subjects necessarily. I mean, we don't need to like find some random person on social media that's talking about pseudoscience and have them teach that. But again, especially, okay, like thinking about languages and cultures, oh, it's such a good one because they can hear real people talking and see how they talk and learn new words and all of that. Or, I mean, if you have a difficult subject, then YouTube and social media can also be helpful when it comes to explaining something in a different way. I really like to bring in YouTube videos when I have a certain way that I approach something, and I found this instructor that's a 60-minute or 60-second video on a different way to approach it. So that's all I have, just a little bit of a show and tell. If you want to go here, you can see the sources and like the links to some of these places that I was talking about. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Garza. We do have time for some questions. So if anybody has any questions, you can either come off mute and ask them, or you can put them in the chat.
Yeah,
Okay, Victoria.
Hi, I was actually just wondering if you were familiar with, or if you had attended the TCDL in the past in Austin.
I don't think so.
It's the Texas Conference on Digital Libraries.
I have not, no.
Hopefully, knock on wood, Texas will be keeping you and you'll be nearby. But if you are in the region, I highly recommend it. A lot of their sessions actually are very OER centric,
Nice.
and focus on a lot of the resources that are available, particularly within Texas systems, but beyond that as well.
So you said TCDL was their acronym for it.
I'll put the link in the chat for
please.
this here's one.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you, Victoria, for that resource.
Austin? Sorry, I talked to you. Is that through UT Austin, Victoria?
Yeah, it's through UT Austin.
Yeah, I'm telling you, they're doing some stuff over there with OERs. They have been for a while.
I mean,
again, I know they had some grants for it, which is one of the reasons. But yeah, they're an excellent resource for many disciplines.
Oh yeah,
There's a
incredible.
reason that they're one of the best, if not the best, information school in the region.
Mhm.
So, yeah, both Betsy and I attended and presented there a couple of years ago, and it was absolutely fantastic.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the audience? I have a question, Rachel. It's very impressive, the R Studio. I had never heard of that. But I do know Tableau. And when I was a K-12 educator, we used Tableau so much, our district had purchased it. And I know it's very expensive to use. But when you just said it's kind of like Tableau and then, but it's free, that's amazing.
Yeah.
However, I am intimidated by the coding language and all that. How do you recommend I get started in trying to use that? Because when you showed the screen, I was like, oh, I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't
It
know.
looks like a lot. It looks like a lot all at once. I think honestly, like one of the best things you can do is have somebody sit down with you with it.
Okay.
To me, I've led a lot of like research groups or just like little training sessions where I'm talking about either our studio as a whole or something about it. I will say the biggest, so you have something like SPSS and Tableau get used a lot because they're point and click and they guide you on what to do with your data, which is great.
Right.
And that really does help you to start to understand the basics of statistics, but in a hands-on way. What happens with our studio is you are telling it what to do with your work, which means that you can get more advanced, you can get more creative. And so that's my encouragement to get into it. As far as getting started with it, I would recommend so MIT has some great open educational resources for learning the basics of R. You don't really need to do too much with it. Because now there's, again, like I was saying, there's so many resources for it that as long as you kind of know what you're looking at, so like looking at this screen again, this looks crazy. But
Yeah.
it's basically because it's 4 pages open at once.
Okay.
So once you kind of learn that, okay, on the top left here, you basically have a Word document. That's all this is. But it's a place to save your code, which is really important compared to previously where you just had this console and you needed to have your stuff saved in a totally different program, or you needed to know how to write all this out by just memory. Now I have a ton of different Word documents where I just keep things saved and I just do a little Control F search whenever I need anything. But once you kind of get used to bouncing between this part and seeing how it changes these three parts, it's just a little bit of the hands-on, I guess. So I would say if somebody can sit down with you, which I'm happy to do, or if you want to alternatively watch just like a few introduction videos on YouTube, and even just like a minute or two of them, and then as long as you can start to kind of play with it hands-on, I think that's the fastest way to learn is to start just kind of playing with it yourself, using some of these resources like our graph gallery that can help you. So maybe come up with like if you have an Excel sheet that has just simple like a dependent variable and an independent variable, just one and one. Don't go any more complicated than that. And then literally just play around with those two. Either looking up things. You can even AI is so helpful when it comes to R now. You can look up like you can ask AI to help you as well. Like so if I wanted to go
Okay.
into RStudio and do this with these two variables, what would the steps be? It can tell you, it can walk you through, and it can even explain what every little individual part of whatever code it gives you means. But the important thing is nowadays, you don't need to be fluent in the language to use it. I do not consider myself fluent by any means in Python or RStudio or R. Python's like the language used in R. But I'm definitely fluent in RStudio. I can definitely train people in it. I can use it. And it's only because of these open educational resources and sometimes some help from AI if you need it, if things aren't working out.
Well, that's exciting. Thank you
much.
so much. I never realized. I mean, there's so much that comes out and there's just so much out there you don't know. The only thing I know is when people like you expose me to new things. So
Yeah.
that's why these conferences are so valuable. And like Victoria, you were able to give us that resource to go look to as well. So that's the only way I learn how things are, or what things are
Yeah.
available. So.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yes.
are there any other questions from the audience?
First, I thought you were saying art studio, but you
Oh,
said R as in R graph, correct?
yes. That would be my Texas accent, probably.
That's okay. I have one too. I love it. Yes, actually, when I was fluent in French, I think my West Texas accent was less, but if we don't use it, we lose it. I hope to pick up Spanish again. So thank you so much. I appreciate you and honor you. So thank you
Thank you.
today.
I appreciate it.
Hey, Victoria.
Last one, I promise. But I was just wondering if you had experience using UDPipe or Voyant for text
Voyant is great.
analysis. Okay.
Yeah. So Voyant though is qualitative, right? So like
Yeah.
RStudio, I'm glad you asked this. RStudio is pretty much all quant. You're really not doing anything with RStudio easily. That's qualitative. Um, I guess it depends. Maybe if you've coded some stuff before you go in there. Voyant is excellent for qualitative. That is also an open educational resource. That's just great. Voyanttools.com, right?
Yeah.
And so that's for like thematic analysis. So that's really actually great for like literary type analyses. Or if you're looking through just like large sections of some kind of data for certain themes. So that's yeah, great for a lot of our social sciences. The other one you said was that UV pipe. Is that what you said?
Yeah, UDPipe.
I haven't heard of that one, no. Is that also
Okay.
qualitative?
Mostly, we used it kind of to consolidate large text documents and
Yeah.
extract specific text data to import into Voyant.
Yeah.
Because what
Oh,
we
I see
did
what you
was
mean.
we took like thousands and thousands of pieces of but bunch of ES's correspondence with his
Uh,
accountant, and like just removed all the parts of language that aren't actually like contextual,
yeah.
to be able to import the contextual language into Voyant.
So it basically cleaned up the
Wow.
data for you. That's awesome. Yeah.
And what was the other one, Victoria? UV pipe, like
Uh,
UV as a
yeah,
Virginia?
U, the letter U, D, the letter D, and then pipe, like
Oh,
pipe
You
works
do.
or plumbing.
okay. UD
Yeah.
pipe. Okay.
We're wanting to say UV pipe because that's a thing.
Sorry,
UV pipe.
my voice is still a little gone, so it's a little out
No,
of it.
no.
Okay.
That's
Oh,
that's our
wow.
phonetics right
That's
there. We're wanting to mishear you, I think.
Victoria, you should put a workshop on for faculty
Yes.
Oh,
on that. How
I've
do you,
only used both of them once, like each.
well,
Hey,
So I'm far from
so
an
you use
expert,
it
but I
more than we
absolutely
do.
loved
I
them.
have I have this here that I forgot to mention. See it, do it, teach it. This is actually like a medical
Yeah.
phrasing. But it's true here too for these things like our studio, like that's what I did. I taught myself it pretty much, and then I used it once or twice, and then I had to teach other people, and here I am. I'm not an expert, but if you've done it once, that's more time than I have. So especially with the UD pipe.
Exactly. That's what I say as well.
Soon to be twice. I'm gonna have to use Voyant for some survey analysis in the near future. So fair enough.
Nice. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool, Victoria. I'm gonna come see you. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending this session and supporting Rachel. She's an amazing scholar, teacher, and just overall person. And we wish her the best, and hopefully she'll be back here soon.
Yes.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. See you all in the
Okay,
next session.
please don't forget to fill out the survey, and thank you all for attending.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.